dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is 5:32 on October 4th. I'm Madison Pergram, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News This Morning. Well, happy Friday, and with this Friday comes some good news from meteorologist Kelly McShane. Let's go to Kelly. Kelly, you still got the good news for us?
Of course I do. We had that cold front come through and it's still working through, but it's working to give us some relief from the heat. Much needed and much deserved for us here in the mountains. We're off to a pretty decent start as we head out the door this morning over towards Whitesburg. Good morning to you folks in Letcher County. We're not looking at too much fog and just another calm start to your day. Satellite and radar is not showing much in terms of rainfall. Like we've been saying, that front has been dry. Just a few clouds here and there, but overall, like I said, just a nice calm start to the day. Temperatures are in the lower 60s to upper 60s as that cold air continues to filter into the mountains. We're looking at cooler temperatures to the north and west, and those are on the way as we head later on into the morning hours as well into the afternoon hours. We're going to be feeling a lot better than the last several weeks. I'll have details as well as your weekend forecast here in just a little bit.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, a plane landing in the Bluegrass Airport yesterday was carrying some special cargo. Ulyss Claude Steele applied for enlistment in the Navy 5 days before his 18th birthday back in 1934. Steele served his country for several years and gave the ultimate sacrifice when he was killed in action during the attack on Pearl Harbor. Steele was one of the many soldiers who remained lost and unidentified for decades. But yesterday, his remains were flown to Lexington, greeted by family and friends. He'll be laid to rest in his hometown of Corbin.
This means everything to the family for him to finally be home and get to be buried in Corbin next to his family. So we can't begin to say how grateful we are to the Navy and to everyone that participated in identifying him so that he could come home.
His family is planning funeral services and his burial for tomorrow, October 5th at the Corinth Cemetery. And today is a big day in Lexington. Keeneland begins its fall meets amid some of the warmest weather on record. Because of our ongoing drought, workers had to keep both the turf and the dirt track watered to keep it safe. Track workers are also making sure the racing surface is safe for horses and jockeys. Victor Puente checked on the progress being made before the busy racing season.
For most of us, a brown lawn might not look the best, but it's something we can live with. But here at Keeneland, that lack of rain isn't just a matter of looking good, it's also a matter of safety. From the air, it seems obvious which areas of Keeneland are getting a steady supply of water. But it turns out it's not just the turf track that they've been focusing on.
Moisture content is very important to keep the racetracks, both the turf and the dirt surfaces, consistent.
The track uses an irrigation system for the turf and 4,000-gallon tanker trucks for the dirt. A dry track or dead grass could be unsafe for horses and jockeys. The newly appointed Director of Racing Services is in charge of keeping everything where it needs to be.
They have equipment on the track throughout the day that's monitoring, reviewing. They take that data, they analyze it, and they're able to really maintain the racetrack according to that data.
As they gear up for the fall meet, the track was already in shape. They keep it operational from the spring meet until the end of the fall.
Even when we're not racing during the summer and have a number of horses here that are training, we are continually applying that science and applying that maintenance.
And like pavement on the road, those services can wear over time. Just this summer, the dirt track was taken down to the ground and reapplied.
It was the 5th year that we've had this track in place, so we were due for some routine maintenance. We pulled back the surface cushion. We used ground penetrating radar to really look at the hard base underneath of it, test for any inconsistencies, but it was all perfect.
Well, the first race here begins at 1:05 tomorrow afternoon. In Lexington, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Keeneland created 2 new positions in time for the fall meet, the Equine Safety Director and a Director of Racing Services. Well, those hot temperatures contributed to a huge fire at a soybean farm in central Kentucky yesterday. This video shows just how much smoke that blaze gave off. This all happened in Mercer County. Emergency crews had to shut down a state highway because of that smoke. Crews from multiple counties responded, and officials believe it all started when a combine harvester exploded, igniting the dry crops around it, and thankfully no injuries were reported. And back in our neck of the woods, the drought continues to get worse. New numbers came out yesterday showing that the majority of southern and eastern Kentucky is in a severe drought, but some of the worst counties are actually in the Kentucky River region. Almost all of Breathitt and parts of surrounding counties are now considered an extreme drought. Only a trace of rain has fallen in Jackson in more than a month.
We're in extreme drought right now. A lot of East Kentucky is in severe drought outside of the area. Generally, the extreme drought's in mainly Breathitt, Perry, and a good portion of Knott County.
We'll hear more about that from one farmer in Breathitt County at 6:30 right here on Mountain News This Morning. And rain is finally in the forecast, but AAA is reminding you, be ready to slow down. Experts say oil left from our cars builds up on the roads over time. Add rain to the mix and roads get slippery. A study from the University of California, Berkeley shows the risk of crashes on a rainy day increase the longer the dry spell that comes before it. AAA reminds drivers to slow down and leave space between other cars.
We're going to have falling leaves combined with wet weather conditions on the roads. Those can actually be about as slippery as trying to drive in icy conditions.
Experts say now is a good time to check the tread on your tires. They say bad tires can take an extra 6 feet to stop. And we now know the name of a man hit and killed by a car in Floyd County Wednesday night. Kentucky State Police identified the victim as 67-year-old Jerry Hackworth of the Beaver community. We first told you Wednesday night about the crash that shut down the southbound lanes of US 23 at Stanville for around 1 hour. There were no other injuries reported. And police in London say they need your help finding a hit-and-run driver. Police say this man hit a car in the Walmart parking lot before driving off. He was driving a black Chevrolet Spark, and it happened around 10 o'clock Thursday morning. The car also has 4 stickers on the back window, and anyone with information is asked to call the London Police Department at 606-878-7004. And one man was arrested on Wednesday for jumping in front of cars in London. Police say Wednesday they got calls from drivers on U.S. Highway 25 in London describing the man in the roadway. Deputies arrested James Horton, who was found with 2 knives and a clown mask on him at that time.
Oh, you don't hear people running, jumping out at the cars or nothing like that, right in the broad daylight. It's just something very unusual.
Police told WYMT Thursday evening Horton is back in jail for similar circumstances and was charged with disorderly conduct. And now to Knox County, where the sheriff's office is trying to figure out who would steal a septic cleaning truck. This truck was last seen in the Barberville area around 4 o'clock Wednesday. It is white with red lettering on the doors, and if you know where the truck is, you are asked to call the Knox County Sheriff's Office. And a child porn investigation landed one Bell County man behind bars. Kentucky State Police arrested this man, Jason Lee Laws, on Wednesday. Troopers say they found at least 20 images of child sexual exploitation on his electronic devices. He faces 20 counts of possession of matter portraying a sexual performance by a minor. He was taken to the Bell County Detention Center. And a new warning from the State Attorney General's office. Officials say a Kentucky woman fell victim to a phone scam, losing around $30,000. The scammers told her that her Social Security number would be suspended if she didn't pay up. Law enforcement officials say the federal government will never suspend your Social Security number or demand you wire money over the phone. If you believe you're being scammed, hang up the phone and call your local law enforcement. And the head of the FBI in Louisville is revealing some pretty jarring information. He says officers in Kentucky have prevented multiple mass shootings. James Robert Brown is a special agent in Louisville. He says there have been multiple cases where law enforcement in Kentucky have prevented mass shootings. Brown added that the number of domestic terrorism arrests have gone up both statewide and nationwide. He says social media is making it easier for domestic terrorists to commit violent acts.
In the overwhelming majority of cases that we've studied, there was always someone in their sphere of influence that knew something. We call them bystanders. So we call that the 2019 version of see something, say something. So it's more important now more than ever for those folks to come forward immediately and report it to law enforcement.
Brown also said the majority of extremist violence here in Kentucky is racially motivated. And Buckhorn Lake State Resort Park is teaming up with many community partners to host a first-of-its-kind event at the park this weekend. More on that just ahead.
We get a nice cool down today, and it looks like fall is finally on the way to the mountains. I'll have a look at that forecast here in just a little bit.